Hello, everybody. Excuse me. This is the latest edition of the third episode of Tales of the American Ronin. It's been a long day. Sorry I'm late. I'll make it up to both of y'all who are subscribing right now and anyone else who gets to check it out. As I said, my name is James Miller. I am U.S. Army veteran. Combat veteran. My MOS was 19 kilo, which for those who don't know, that is a M1A1, or was M1A1 crew. Which really didn't encompass everything that I needed to learn and doing, but that's what my title for the paperwork was. But I'm sure many of y'all other veterans can relate or understand. If not, ask your veteran friend. You got one, whether you realize it or not. But I'm pretty sure you know. With it being Veterans Day, and as much as, especially today, veterans and I've heard everyone will hear, thank you for your service. I wanted to address that. You know, I appreciate it. I really do. I really, really do. And this is me speaking as a combat veteran. You know, Iraqi freedom, Kosovo, and yada yada yada. But I never know quite how to honestly respond. Because for me personally, my journey to the Army may not have been the average stereotypical way most people get there. Though I know I'm not alone by a long shot. Just anybody from my old unit, you know. I'm not the only cat who's been like this. When I signed up for the military, okay, it wasn't at the time any kind of patriotic duty or sense of responsibility or anything remotely responsible. I'd made some bad choices. I'd gotten myself into a situation where I was facing state felony charges for things. And being the time that I grew up, and the place that I grew up, the offer of you can go to jail or you can go to the military was still a very real thing. Which, hopefully it never dies. It needs to be. I know it helped me from going down a lot rougher road than I ended up going. But that's God doing for me what I could not do for myself. So, you know, though later on it grew into patriotism and sense of duty. But initially it was just a foxhole thing. You know. State Federal Penitentiary in Texas. Army. And with my limited experience and knowledge of the real military at the time, I really didn't need a whole lot of pushing. I've been to jail those times. But the fact that that was still on the table for me, though at that point I'd never done more than a night or a weekend at max. You know, I was taking the rope while I could. Now later on, like I said, it grew into believe it or not, for some of those who know me, might be surprised by this, especially who knew me when I first showed up in the military. It did grow into a sense of duty and patriotism. But what got me to boot camp, to even walk in the door, wasn't in even this one, I can't blame this on the recruiter. You know? Yes, they're trained liars. They're trained to make quotas. Truman, if you ever see this, you're the one who told me this. You know? Or you're the first one who told me this, rather. But no, this was... Anyone who's been to Huntsville knows Texas don't play. My little young ass, 20-year-old ass, gotta watch that. Work in progress. I just didn't want to do that. So the idea of going to play G.I. Joe and getting college, not to mention after I did walk into the recruiter and they start throwing bonuses and stuff at you, I'm like, yeah, I can do this, or I'm going to spend time in a box. Yeah, we can do this for a little bit, you know. There was a real nice lady who did that for me. Her name was Jean Hart. She passed away now. She was an old friend of the family. My biological mother, she met her working local cafe, being a cook and serving. Like, I think it's how old now? About 40 years ago. She was a great lady, and this was a big reason why, well, I'm sure I stayed alive. Because especially considering who I was at that time, yeah, nah. It'd have been a bad day, or I'd have met a record, or, yeah, it wouldn't have worked out well. Thank God for doing for us we cannot do for ourselves, let me tell you, brothers and sisters. You know, of course, very rarely do I talk about this aspect of it, at least most people, but you know, it doesn't have anything to do with humbleness. It really doesn't. You know? You're essentially thanking me for not wanting to go to jail. Anything else that came along with that after I got there, the patriotism that grew into me, or it came forth, sense of duty, everything I learned, that's all stuff that I'm just as grateful for as you are. Probably more so. So, you know, at best times I simply say, thank you. But please, put in the comments, alright y'all? Anyone who sees this who can relate? Is it just me? Am I the only veteran who feels that way? You know, I know I'm sure there's other circumstances for others that fit. Nothing new under the sun. That includes our behaviors. So, you know, I can't be the only one. Somebody let me know or speak up. Give me your point of view. You know, am I the only one? Like, comment, share, subscribe if you like this so far. There might be a couple more of these tonight, shorter ones. Especially since I'm not really going too long at the moment. But really, you know, what is the proper way to say it to where you're not misunderstood? You know? And most people are simply being polite. It's a good thing, though. Like I said, I deeply appreciate it. Okay, personally speaking. Do I think I deserve it? Nah. Did I earn it? I don't feel I did. You're essentially thanking me for going to college. A little bit rougher than Harvard, but you know, I still got my own type of Ivy League. You know?